Alrighty. This is all going to be in German, so I'm not really going to understand a thing. And they're just doing lots of talks about like the new items that are coming in for like the first hour of the show. Okay, and then we finally get to draft. Okay. So, in difference from yesterday to today, we're probably going to talk a bit more about like drafting because it probably matters substantially more at this kind of level. But I will admit that I have seen parts of these games already. But okay, right, so you just got Leader Aurelia that like needs to go. Camille on blue makes sense because lots of teams are doing Galio and Camille like strat as just a basic like really easy thing. They do Galio Camille in rotations like this, and then you can literally just pick both of them. Now Kai'Sa, I assume I don't really understand the point of the Kai'Sa ban. I don't think she's actually like that strong, and there are certain things you can play into it. Orianna ban, I assume that is partly just because they have some kind of strategy where they're going to play like something mid lane, or you go in mid, or melee mids, and Orianna is like the safe option into melee mids. And then you have Taliyah on this side that needs to go, and then Renekton that's going to play weak side top, which I believe they assume is going to be easier to start trying to focus on top lane as their priority. So they say go love first, which is a fairly straightforward thing, but then Euronics make this mistake here, in my opinion. And this is my opinion only, where the Pantheon and Akali are both not required. You would normally only be given one of them because your draft here is going to be substantially different, where you'd probably be banning them to get rid of them. But the thing is that this is going to probably create where they've got so many flexes that they're trying to work out where it goes. And it can be really flexible, but it's how you basically finish it up in this half of the draft here. Okay. And then you've already got on this side where it's like insta-lock this. He's just so confident that he just doesn't give a shit about his mid matchup, and he can basically play... he's quite probably happy playing this into Akali because he knows the matchup due to what... just playing Akali so much. This is a counter towards if they pick Leona. One sec, I'll drop it down. There we go. That should be better now. It's probably because I just want something to actually listen to, because I can't listen to the cast in any way. Aphelios pick here, even though Aphelios is typically only picked when this is picked. I don't understand why you would blind Aphelios when typically like the main things that he objected against was either range or just he stands in a way where he can get run over. Yeah, he's against like this, and it's all melee, which like he's got no range disadvantage against that. He's kind of happy with it, but at the same time, you've left it open where like Mals can either choose to completely avoid the laning phase or pick something that they think would be like realistically really good into it. Rel into Alistar, typically seen in LCK. Fair enough. Like, basically what ends up happening is that Rel can get in between, and it's kind of like the Leona Alistar matchups. Like, if you have two melee matchups in bot lane, it's whoever engages first basically loses, because then the enemy support can choose who they pick and go on, and it's a good time. AP needed, so they had to go AP bot lane, which they were getting rid of Karthus, and then for some reason they got rid of Anivia. I don't think Anivia was quite the one to be played bot lane, but, you know, they're looking for something. And then they just round it off the composition with either a weak side Shen. I mean, to be honest, if Mals wanted to really up this, they could have, instead of taking Alistar, you take Shen here. Because Shen is also quite good into these kind of like melee matchups down here as well. And then you can basically have Shen... Olaf combo locked in nice and early, and you can decide where it goes, and then you could potentially even have like double. You can avoid the laning phase with Ziggs, and Shen is capable of roaming. Like, it's entirely up to you. And the Corki pick is probably just because they need range and a bit more AP. Like, I know he still does like 70% mostly like AD, but the percentage is needed, right? You've got Pantheon, Aphelios, and Rel, so it's pretty much required. But Pride Stalk versus Llama Bear, that's probably going to be a good match. Sartorius versus Venter, I don't know most of these names, like Indeed, BAD Carry, they're new to me. I haven't heard of them before. But I'm just new to the scene, so... Come on, get me in game. We don't care about any of this. Beautiful, I can do this. That's some lovely things that I don't mind about. So in this instance, they're just trying to find a matchup that I assume just gets mid-priority, which allows Pantheon to play the game and try and snowball early. And that's pretty much like the tale of the two jungles, right? It's basically whoever gets ahead or most done in the first 10 minutes. Okay, so we see a late invade here from Mouse. And they have no read on this. This is terrible. Mouse are already substantially ahead now, because what they can do is this. And then you end up with vertical jungling, and it's always in favor because Ziggs just does not give a shit. Like, he just clears waves for fun. And it's probably even... Oh, it's getting even worse for him. Okay. So, what people were doing in high elo play right now is they do the LPL where they literally come in, they vertical jungle on you, they take this area, and then they quickly sprint over, they take this, and then they're just going to go back onto this side. Oh, no. He's about to get 3-buffed and all his camps in an early game matchup that decides the first 10 minutes. It's not going to be a good one. Okay, these trades are fine. They're just trying to distract them from being able to clear the wave as much as possible to actually make something happen here. But it's going to be extremely forced. Shen versus Akali. Shen gets prio early. As soon as Akali gets actually to like one item, then Akali just does whatever she wants. Or at least one and a bit, maybe two. Depends. But she's fine scaling. Okay, nothing like aside from this, it's just a jungle lead from just like initial strategy at level 1. But for some reason they don't have the scoreboard available. I just get this consistently. Like the Prime League, this is what they uploaded, so yeah, there you go. And the jungle lead is going to come in about 30 seconds time. Because Pantheon has just walked onto this side of the map, realised there's no camps there, and then he's going to go clear his bot side, and then Olaf gets an extra side of camps. It's not much, but, you know, every little counts. And he's a level ahead, like... Okay, he decides to use the... So, from the advantage he's gained, Pantheon is currently trying to catch up with his like farm. He's trying to catch up on camps, just so he's on an EXP level that is similar to Olaf, but Olaf decides to cash in on any tempo advantage he's got. And this is important to talk about. So in this kind of matchup, you've already got Ziggs on here. He just TPs the bot lane. He cheats prio, like, and then he manages to achieve priority on his own, which results in him being able to then take Drake with Olaf. So the matchup was going terribly for 4 minutes. He just takes a pummeling and then like instantly comes out of the lane and goes, yep, I've got TP. We're back. And ESG were probably looking to do maybe... They should have either been looking to do a 3-wave crash into recall, back into laning. When Pantheon was originally there, but they never got it. And if you can't reset like that, then you're never going to get a clean reset, which means you will always end up going down a wave or giving up prio to the TP. That's the advantage of having TP. But a 3-wave crash, I mean, yeah, good luck when they just aggressively stop you. Okay, alright. We're already seeing something cool happen here, right? Alistar gets on his bike. He gets prio. He just sits there, waits for Ziggs to get prio. He's safe. He's fine. Alistar bases recalls on this side of the map. And then he realizes, hang on a second. Right. This is important, right? Remember at level 1? They know what the timer on the camps are because of Olaf's level 1 invade from that. They're coming for this, and they've planned it ahead 1 minute in advance. Alistar's already moving, and they know the buff is coming, like, from level 1. Which results in this, right? Because of all this TP, and because these guys never found a good reset, it means that Alistar has been able to, okay, he can walk wherever he likes. He can go wherever he wants, because now Ziggs is under no pressure. They can't build a wave enough to pressure him, and not to mention, there's the other flip side of normally everyone would try and commit jungle onto this side of the map. If jungle never does that, jungle's actually having to be here because it's his camp that he wanted to clear, then you're never diving Ziggs with a Philios Rel. It's just not going to happen. So, that's the difference of tempo generation from the TP and laning. Okay, this is a bit of a fuck up mechanically, but would have actually worked out if they played it better. So Mal's just basically did tempo generation from bot lane with the TP, and then it was unanswered. Like, this was their cash in from it. So far, ESG have not created anything with their tempo. Like, from waves they can shove and crash under turret, they've done nothing with it. Rel answers just far too late. So they tried to swap here, right? ESG recognize, okay, actually, hang on a second. If Ziggs is here on his own, we can crash this, reset. Let's just watch it. So you go, they're laning 1v2. Rel should probably be trying to push Ziggs off the wave, but, you know, he's not losing anything. But they base, they reset, and then they try to come on top side in a Herald swap. Which they will get because Ziggs was on his own, and they've already made the play beforehand. But it may be contested here. Shen does have TP, like, leaders watching out. Corki can't get here. Yep. That's pretty much game over at this point. Alright, so, why did they lose this? So, they lost this because Ziggs is already on the same tempo and answering. He's not exactly, like, far behind. He's only maybe, like, 10 seconds behind in time. Shen clears out a huge wave. Olaf's on the other side of the map. Cool. Doesn't matter, though. Because what is happening at this exact moment is you've got 2 members from ESG that are still in base when you're forcing this. If they want to keep control of this, Ventair cannot base here in sight of minions. And you have TP, like, they're going to know what your TP cooldown is. They know for a fact Akali won't or cannot be here, and ESG are like, oh yeah, but that Shen's on 50% HP. Yeah, but he's going to recall and just ult back. You're down a member, like, you're fighting numerical advantages here. You don't have mid prio because Corki was in, or like people were in base with Corki, so you don't have mid prio. You lose that, and it's a disaster, like of epic proportions. So if ESG wanted to change this, either Akali needs to stay, and you need to keep pressure to stop Shen basing here, and allowing him that. But you cannot send all of these people to base right now. If you're going to do a Herald setup, you can't have 2 people coming out of base when you're starting the objective, and the rest of the blue team is on equal tempo, roughly, from their bot lane. Like, your bot lane only moving over is not enough. Okay, so we just had tempo usage by Mal's really simple thing at level 1 with the late invade, and then it's been punished again from a small tempo lead that they gained from the TP, which purely comes from ESG not being able to find the condition of when they can base. If ESG actually bases and shoves in at level 3 and either starts the slow push against them, they get a free reset and come back, then they've actually managed to get around the fact that they have a TP disadvantage. They need to be far more aggressive in forcing trades and being able to burn that TP to get him back to lane when it's still not favourable for him. Okay. And now you've got a problem. Like, with their massive lead, right? Let's go back to when they just finished Herald and what's going to come up, right? So they finish Herald, Drake's 1 minute. Let's see what they do with their tempo on Mal's side. Bang. Clear all your clamps, clear all your camps, clear all your camps. Alistar, 1 minute before Drake, already basing, discipline. Ziggs bases at the same time. Yone bases 1 minute before as well. Shen doesn't need to because he has TP. He can cheat tempo, like if he wants to. Shen can literally TP back anytime he wants, and it's kind of fine. Like, he doesn't need to base. Olaf takes like a pretty late base, but it's fine because the rest of his team, like, it's a staggered base, and this is where it's okay, right? 40 seconds before Drake, if it's staggered bases and people, the majority of your team, like 3 members, have based at 1 minute, you can get away with a later reset because those 3 members will get out onto the map and clear the waves that you need to be hitting, and that allows you that staggered reset. So it's a bit greedy, but 1 or 2 people can do this. It doesn't need to be all 5 people basing at 1 minute. Okay, so you see Shen answering on Aphelios. So ESG are looking for the handshake. They're looking to try and take top lane turret with Aphelios and try and get some gold on him, but it just goes standard lanes, really, for Mouse, and it can't be answered. Like, Akali can't get prio, Yone gets prio now, and Shen just chills, and Aphelios actually bases. So there was no counter punch. If you're ESG in this situation, you can't, like, they're waiting for Shen to make an aggressive play, which is never going to come, because Shen knows that he's playing for Drake and playing for weak side, and that he's going to end up on top lane. He doesn't want to force a trade. So in reality, this play is never going to happen that they're waiting for. I get the feeling they're probably waiting for maybe Mouse to overload and try and play like all on that, but they have no reason to do so. They would have been far better off with Pantheon and Rel being and positioning on top side with the Aphelios and waiting for the aggressive play there, and just looking to completely trade. Or they look aggressively for mid lane prio. Okay, next objective either comes bot lane turret or mid lane. Mouse, I mean, he still has, yep. Man's just getting outplayed. And jungle support duo for ESG have achieved nothing in this game. There's nothing that they have been able to do. Pantheon comes in, starts looking, and yeah, well. Your Aphelios is dead because he's playing weak side and accepting waves way too high up. He sees Shen go bot, so he thinks he can come down. But he doesn't realize he doesn't have mid prio anymore because Corki died, which means that he could have them responding on the other side. Here you go. So Aphelios thinks he can step out just purely because of that, but because no mid prio, like, he has no vision on the other two. He thinks that Olaf and Alistar are both forcing onto bot lane, when in reality Mouse are just doing the whole map at once. It's very well played by them. And once again, Aphelios, so, okay. It is really hard to play the fucking game when your jungle support keep getting to a lane but someone's already died, because now you're off tempo so much. Aphelios is coming out of base to collect a wave, and in reality what should be happening here is so jungle support want to help clear this mid wave quickly, and then they both want to rotate to top to help him cover. But because they died before this with Corki death and then immediately into Aphelios death, it's near impossible. And then you just end up with dives like this on repeat. Like, Mouse have had full control of their red side jungle of ESG for like the last 3 minutes, and because solo lanes keep dying, they're never even in a position to ever retake. And it's like, you're overextended, you die. You're overextended, you die. You're trying to catch waves. It's just, you'll die. Hey, Fixed Base, what's up, my guy? Alrighty. So we just go standard. We've taken kills, we've taken chip, we've taken waves. We haven't really pushed the game with turrets, but it's okay. Maybe they might have wanted to play faster and play for bot lane, but they chose to instead take full control of red side jungle and keep farming it with the mid and top prio they could get. And then it's a long lane. This is something that happens in probably higher EOs, is when it's put into a long lane situation like this, is it creates an opportunity to keep punishing as people keep pushing waves when they shouldn't. In the sense of, okay, we've got mid prio, we can choose what to do with it by either going down here with it and going for the turret. Maybe not the easiest because you can't actually slow push or build waves. So what they choose to do instead is they get mid prio and then they just move into this area here. And then anytime a wave is here, they just let it sit there and wait for people to fuck up or people to like start moving out like way too far, and then immediately you just punish from behind. You make it really dangerous, and then you just keep farming up. Drake in 30 seconds, but they're playing on Herald instead. I assume they want this because it's just better with Ziggs and you... Alright, so here's another thing, right? This is what people don't realize. If you can take second Herald in time, you can actually cheat tempo and setup on a Drake, because this creates so much pressure here. And then red team are all going to go like, oh, we need to get to mid lane real quick. And when they're dealing with that, you just take Drake. And it's fine. But Mals are so far ahead at this point, it doesn't matter. They could make the worst decisions in the world, but it really wouldn't matter. But, okay, you got Ziggs just looking to control the zone here. Doesn't need to. Free Drake. Clear this mid wave, probably resets, I assume. Depends what they want to go for. Okay, they get mid prio, and then it's, oh look, we've got mid prio here. Let's move into this side of the jungle. We'll take control of this area. That's free for us. They see fighting like this. It's never going to work out because they're actually fighting where Aphelios is so far away. This fight always goes in favor of Mals. It's good. Aphelios is still running. He's only just got here, by the way. Well, they trade 1 for 1, but it's very, very close. And Yone in this time has been free farming. Like, Yone wasn't even in the fight at all. He's just been pushing waves. So if you're ESG in this situation, you look at the first 5 minutes and how you play around your lanes. Prescription is Blitzscrims. Again, most teams here just like need to understand how they need to crash their waves. Like, should it be a level 3 crash or wave 3 crash? Should it be a 4 wave crash? Like, how do we do this so we could reset and make sure that we're not massively behind in tempo versus a really easy combo like this to just Ziggs and Alistar just hold and play weak side and TP back when they want tempo. But all we're seeing right now is just Mals consistently doing this and then going, we want this side or we want this side, and then ESG just keep overextending in their sides and just getting punished over and over and over again. To break this, the only way is to have a correct response is to accept they have their turn. When Mals are coming over this way, that presents an opportunity for you to push out the next mid wave. So like when this happens, Mals or ESG push out this wave, and then they walk onto the opposite side of the map and they handshake. And then you have Aphelios will pick up the wave after, and you trade turret for turret. If you don't do this, then what ends up happening is you're just going to sit there and go, well, what the fuck do we do? At least do something and see if it works. But so far, Pandar and Llama Bear have had 0 impact on the game, and they can't get into the game because they fucked up first. It's a domino, so they mess up first, and then it turns to their solo lanes and unable to create any tempo. So then they fall over, and it's a complete collapse. And there's just nothing they feel they can do. Which is a fair comment, so... You played early game jungles and all about early game prio and stuff, and you lost. Mals are just going to sprint this into the base. They're so fed from all the tactics they did beforehand. Yeah, there you go. This is an LEC team basically playing against like an ERL team. I think it's safe to say that like the problems in this game we've already spoken about, but we'll zoom through it to see if there's anything that's also like give credit to MOUZ where it's due. They saw all these things happening and planned ahead and punished it. It's ESG not getting the read on the map of what's going to happen. So in reality, MOUZ were doing all these great things with like mid-prio into control, into anyone stepping up on side lanes, you punish. And they've got so many tools to do that, so... ESG try a Death Brush when they walk into the control. Cool. Got a kill on Aphelios. Great. Good times, but doesn't matter. Aphelios can't play the game anymore. I think we just move on from this one. Like, the game's over at that point. Alrighty. Big versus Unicorns of Love. So, this game is a little bit more standard, where we're seeing this kind of stuff banned. Still not whole sure about, like, this Gragas, like... I seem to see a lot of teams banning Gragas on second. So either they believe he's a really strong weak side, but I guess people might be using it as a flex, but I didn't think he was that outright strong. Olaf lock in. Response is Nidalee, but she will not go typical Nidalee. Like, this used to be bad for Nidalee, but it's kind of okay now. Because you can go Moonstone. They take Kai'Sa blind, and then they just answer with poke lane. It's poke plus Olaf being your engage that secures your early game. Like, can you imagine being in an early game right now and you have to play against this and you know that a split map is potentially coming, or there's going to be a lot of pressure around you, so that if this bot lane ever goes low, and then you know what, we're going to lock in Alistar as the response. That's really, like, awkward. Like, the response I think they should have taken is Galio here. Or you take Zoe. But Zoe is really bad into Olaf. Like, because as soon as she R's forwards, she just runs into it, yeah. It's Moo. Hey guys, it's Moo here. How's it going, my guy? Alright. This is quite smart because you get Ryze, who can technically get prio and then start diving. He has point and click CC, more point and click CC for the dive, and strong topside that's impossible to like handshake with. What do you think of Aatrox in ERLs? I think Aatrox is fine. Honestly, Aatrox at the moment, like, it's being played a lot in LPL, LCK, like everywhere, and it's the whole like Aatrox can both play strong and weak side, and the healing is like ridiculous. So. Alright, so Unicorns have taken this in an attempt to say you're never going to get mid-prio. And yeah. I was watching the Nerd Rage Bulldog series, and I think it was super into pick because it was difficult picks. I suppose, but at the same time, like, he's also just quite happy and proficient on his own at times. Hello, Reku is reviewing ProDiv. Hello, Anton, my guy. I mean, I'm not gonna lie here, but like, like Unicorn's bot lane is about to get completely run over. Even though the guy is 1k LP. I mean, if you're talking about Sericus, he's more known for like playing volley and stuff. Like, it was a good matchup against two, like, one person who plays Aatrox as a connoisseur versus Volibear, who, like, he's a very niche champion pool, but he's good at it. I think if you go and watch it now, Hachi is like destroying Rifty and destroys like other top laners on the pick, and then you go and watch that series with that in mind, and you realise that actually Sericus was kind of going even or winning the matchup, but you're against like 2 skilled players. Let's zoom ahead. But predictions here is that Kai'Sa Alistar is going to get absolutely like run over. Alistar just cannot sustain and won't be able to engage if something. The only time they get something is at level 1. But the thing is, Olaf's in the game versus Nidalee, which means that it's very dangerous to do something at level 1. Zooming ahead. And you don't like an engage options because Seraphine ult over Olaf when he sprints at you. But we can definitely see... Oh, here you go. Here's the level 1 from Olaf, which you spoke about. Like, and Unicorns of Love have to accept this. They're going to get vertical jungled on against a poke lane, and it's game over for like Unicorns bot lane if they decide to do this. Unicorns can't play against this. It's horrible. China Renekton versus Aatrox matchup in Germany. Yeah, it happens all the time, right? Renekton gets early prio for 3 waves, and then Aatrox after like maybe level 4 or 5 is like, no, I'm gonna beat the hell out of you. Okay, so right, split map is coming, right? Olaf's farming. Unicorns recognize this, and so they're trying to punish onto the Olaf and say maybe we can get something, because if they go to lane, they will never do anything. So they're in a vertical jungling situation now, which is really bad for them. And here you go. Here's going to be case in point, right? So whoever did draft for Unicorns, ouch. Like Big came in with a strategy and you didn't adapt to it on the fly. But here you go. There's Kai'Sa Alistar just like getting poked out, and there's nothing Alistar can do. Like he's burnt all his pots already, and we've been in lane for 3 waves. Okay, and they just keep shoving waves into you. It is literally impossible. And because like they couldn't even do anything in return because they didn't use any flexes. If you have a flex like a Galio or something, then maybe you can do something, because you can then get support matchup, which gets you out of this. But if you don't have support matchup, then it's a bit doomed. Okay, Kadir tries walking into his wrong side of the jungle. Olaf has been sat there waiting for him. Well played by him. And 5-minute Drake. So, hey Zilex, what's going on, my guy? Okay. Nearly a huge promise. You there today? What for? How so? Nidalee a huge problem this draft as well. No. I think it's in this composition and how Big have put them in this hole. Like, you've got to remember, like, Nidalee could be good into Olaf as like a kiting thing. But the issue is that she kind of gets run over early game, and then you've picked Kai'Sa Alistar, which has horrendous laning. And you put yourself in a position where in the draft, in the first 3 picks, you're kind of like, shit, we're in the like hole now. Without any way to like pivot or get out of it. SLT kind of inted the matchup on top side. Also, how does he int the matchup? I'm gonna zoom back now to see, like, it won't show any of his laning, but I just want to see the CS numbers and where the wave ends up. Don't care. It's all in German. I don't understand. Goodbye. So Renekton moves early. Renekton's never gonna get to this wave first if Aatrox. Yeah, so Nidalee takes basically what is like a leash. Renekton comes down to bot lane to secure the vertical jungling, and that means he then gets like screwed on his level 1 for the wave, and Aatrox gets prio in a melee versus melee matchup. It can go either way in a melee versus melee. Renekton needs to be, yeah, but at the same time, like, look at what they achieve from it. Like, he gives up potentially having some laning priority or prowess, and then just look at what happens in bot lane. Renekton still pushes in, by the way. He still gets the push in. I don't know. I think if it's on this, he's on 22 CS, so it's on 4th wave. He's crashed it on 4th wave, which is not canon, so it's not going to slow push, and it should go back to relatively neutral, or it's going to be pushed into him when he goes to crab here, which denies even more from Nidalee. So I wouldn't say that he's fucked it. I think it's more of realizing that he did a lot for his team on the first couple like instances, and he didn't really give up too much, and he denied Nidalee as well. So if we were talking about like LPL, like maybe you're looking at this and saying, yeah, if you're an LPL player and you're playing at like pro level, then that would probably matter, and you want to be playing and abusing as much as possible. But in this situation, like bot lane is nearly down 2 plates, ups, your bot lane is nearly up 2 plates, a whole wave, and you've got Drake from it, and your Olaf and yourself are still like doing all right. Although I am kind of annoyed that Olaf like is a bit behind when he's been put in this situation, like in terms of farming, but it is what it is. Like I feel like Big with this kind of lead should still be pushing to near like getting to a 1k gold lead soon. Alright, so we're on first base now. They shove in this wave, they go get their control. Renekton's like chilling in his matchup. Doesn't fully get the crash there. That's pretty bad though. If you want an example of how to go play Renekton and win matchups, go watch Arome versus Kerberos in NLC, which is XL versus Nordavind. And it's no disrespect to Kerberos, but Arome's on a different level and plays Renekton and like played at LEC level and just abuses every opportunity he's given. Gordrian Hysterics, think it's good. I also think there's a lot of room for other things to come into meta. Alright. So while we're talking about this, right? So Ryze gets a free wave and moves to top side. As if they're going to play towards Renekton now. Which means that your bot lane is now effectively playing weak side because they use control to get the red buff. The difference in this situation towards the Malice one is Malice already had priority before this and were allowed to move and do what they want to get that red buff. Whereas Big, if they know that this red buff invade is coming, will probably crash this and say we will never go back to bot lane now. You'd probably be better off switching Ryze and your bot lane for this situation. Just quickly, like... Yeah, so his bot lane shift up to like protect the mid wave and then come back down to bot lane to pick it up again. Which matchup? Renekton versus Shen. Renekton versus Shen. It's an example of really good Renekton play. Alright. Okay. So your bot lane is going to get engaged upon now. Names of the players, Arome and Kerberos. It's XL versus Nordavind. First game in NLC. As soon as they are finally not in vertical jungling anymore, and they know for a fact. Here. They see Ryze move into topside off the wave, and this is why it's bad, right? Here. It's better for Ryze to fog here. Pretend that he's walking this way and then back in to vision again. Because they give away a lot of information about like which side of the map they're playing towards. And then this happens, right? Now, there's also a really big thing here that doesn't happen. That could be punished. Anyone want to take a guess as what it could be? There's a certain summoner that is available for a certain person. I mean, yes, they could let the wave crash and then they just chill. It's like here where they're stepping up for the wave when they could just actually not be contesting it at all and just let it crash into them. That's one way. If they wanted to take an aggressive route, then it's going to come from this. Olaf comes down and picks up the wave in mid aggressively, like looking on the Anivia from behind. And then Ryze has the potential to answer this with TP. There's options here where if they read it, like, I know they're misplaying their lane by trying to push when they're effectively now weak side. Like, Unicorn should never be allowed that. I don't think a Nidalee should ever be allowed back into the game past 7 minutes on this side. But they do it for Herald. You're going to watch much UKL this split? The UKL, if you enjoy a bloodbath, something, copy pasta. No, I'll probably watch it. I watch like UKLC when I've got time, and I'll watch like any of them. I think yesterday I was watching Prime, Poland, France, NLC, Dutch League, all at the same time. And it was pretty ridiculous. Okay. So I'm pretty much zooming through. So Ryze eventually, Anivia's going to get wave push, but Ryze can answer with any roams with its ult and TP. It's fine, it's just a farming matchup. And Ryze does get ridiculously strong in a side lane, which Anivia hates. Alright, so they use the bot prio with... So they gate off bot wave here. So Olaf is hovering on his bot lane, and then it allows his bot lane to push in, and that then allows his bot lane to move with him to get control. Okay, and here's your second Drake. Because of good timing on that one. And Nidalee in this entire game has been forced to play on the opposite side of where Olaf is at all times. Okay. So then we go back to standard lanes again, they shove in, and then they start moving towards mid lane. So there's a play that they're looking for here. Yep. Here comes the Herald. So in all of this, they're just using prio from bot lane safely to then start moving them around the map like chess pieces. And into mid lane here. If they got the play on Anivia there with the Ash Arrow, then that's a free mid lane turret in a way, with depending on how hard they force on it. Ash Seraphine back into bot lane again. Olaf is shadowing, so he probably wants to like make sure this next wave gets shoved in. But now Kai'Sa and Alistar have had time to stabilize because Nidalee got that gank off. But Olaf's purely just showing there to make sure they get the crash and a reset. Olaf walks onto the opposite side of the map. Top lane has been left alone on an island. It's just the way it is. Aatrox versus Renekton. What a wonderful matchup. Okay, so now we're just seeing more and more pressure trying to be allocated where they get prio from bot lane into mid, which ultimately isn't working. That's just the power of Anivia that just keeps chilling there. Alright, here's the point and click CC that you can't avoid from Ryze into Renekton. Be right back. Can't make food. Oh, what are you making for me? Better bot wins. Nice. Okay, so in return for all of this, reheat leftover Dominoes. Nice. Imagine not eating it cold, bro. Alright, Ashe moves to mid lane here. Burns her flash for it. And then no one's going to go pick up the bot lane wave because of all this shenanigans that are happening. So there's a wave being missed and a turret that's about to go down because of this trade. And a Herald plus a kill for a turret? I don't know about this one. I feel like Unicorns got the better what. Like, if Aatrox obviously gets out of this alive, it's awful for Big. Like, they had to burn so many resources just to get that kill to make this worth it. Like, I'm not gonna lie here, but instead of going for the Aatrox kill, like, you should accept that you've already... Right. Here. You've already put enough resources topside for them to actually take the Herald, because Kai'Sa's walking down to bot lane. Kai'Sa shows on the wave. You no longer need to commit this many resources to secure this Drake anymore. Like, just send Ashe or Renekton down to bot lane to collect that wave, and make sure the turret doesn't fall. Do not give up the free gold. Like, giving up that gold is so bad. Like, you have Herald secured, send Renekton with TP down, get your bot lane to, like, recall or take mid lane or top. I mean, if they race after this, then sure. Like, if they get the Herald and then say we're going to go straight for top tier 2, then it works. But they don't. So they actually, in reality, like, the game doesn't change. Cool, you got Herald, but you lost the turret. Like, alright. So red team are currently, I mean, if I would love it if it would show me what they're doing when they're live, but I assume red team right now, they went in, they took control on the other side of the map, and then they've stayed on map here, clear out mid wave, look for then control into jungle here. Shallow, but they look for Ashe with no flash, and then here comes the team fight. Alright. And this is something we were touching upon in UKLC, right? Where they use a Nivea wall to create like this zone where now Ashe is like completely fucked on her own and no one can get to her. And then Dream Race just fucks up the combo entirely. If he doesn't fuck this combo up, then it's really good. Like, Kadir is dead. Or Kadui even, sorry. This guy's dead. Ashe is dead. And then they're fighting this with, like, no one around. Anivia has this cut off in the team fight. So no one's ever going to be able to walk through here. But the issue is you've got people coming this way. But it's kind of okay. It's fine, right? The TPs are just coming in on the same angle. But this bitch is like so... This bitch is in Africa right now. The fact that she is allowed to walk through here is really... Wow. Because like right now, if Big say, fuck these guys, and they just beeline for her, she's getting pummeled from like 2 angles. But she's allowed to like... Okay, so... Difference here, right? This, good if you land it. But you don't. And then you're caught in a really fucking bad position after. So if you wanted to take the less mechanical route where like you literally have no room for them fucking it up, you let them walk into this angle. They are not allowed to clear any vision here. Or they don't have, and then you just wait for them to get here. You Anivia this, and then you can just like solo the Drake in the background with your Kai'Sa. Like your Kai'Sa can be stood here, just hitting Drake. Anivia just zones them off from here, like with her ult. You can sit there indefinitely. But right now, Anivia ult is being used for just about jack shit. Like, look at Anivia's damage in this fight, in reality. Like, what can she actually do? She's zoning out, like, their bot lane, yes. But she immediately then has to burn her flash in all her sums because of the bad position she's found herself in the team fight. She cannot walk through this area successfully. It's not going to happen. Okay. However, Big have been allowed to get to 3 Drake. So Drake Soul's coming. There's going to be a fight in 3 minutes is where we will see like the biggest fight possible, right? regardless of what's going to happen in this game. Mid prio into top. We saw this in Mao's series again. Like, you'll see teams do this all the time. Alright, they come off base here. Alright, we're hard shoving this wave with Olaf, and we're all moving to top side. And then Renekton either has a choice to come from base and pick up this wave, or pick up this wave. In reality, Renekton has plenty of time where if basically Big decide to fully commit here, Renekton can pick up both waves. Because it's a long lane situation on bot. This wave, even if Aatrox pushes it, is not going to hit here in time. So Renekton can get both. We just see blue team walk into the jungle, get control, and then it's like, this is the situation when mid lane falls. This is what you're susceptible to. When mid lane falls is constantly people getting mid prio and then just moving into this area or this area. Mao's do it when even tier 1 isn't existing. Just because they're like far ahead and they know they can. And then your side lane should fall. Like you'll see this on repeat where like it will be good trades for blue team. Olaf very nearly survives that. So losing tier 1 here was the big thing for Phoenix. Mid lane prio unbeatable. If you hard force it, there are ways around it. Like Unicorns could have had and committed to the complete opposite side where like so for instance, it doesn't work in this game, but normally the standard response is one team goes and shoves out this way and goes this way, and then the other team shoves in the other direction and they take the other side if you do not believe that you can fully fight them just yet. And you keep handshaking until you end up meeting in the middle of the map again. In this instance, however, red team can't do that because the turret down here, it doesn't exist. So the only viable option they have is to either hard contest mid priority to stop them moving, with like Anivia always being able to reach the wave first. But tier 1 is gone, so it's still fairly risky for her to do that with no flash, with like Ashe, Ryze, and Olaf being in the game, and just running her down. So here you go, like, because we know that it's bad for her to do this on her own, she's being escorted by Alistar. Okay, we have mid prio now. Okay, let's go clear out our things. But Unicorn's got nothing in return for this. If you were looking to make some kind of return play, it has to come like a few seconds after. But they choose instead. Let me go back here. Instead, Anivia's like, I'm catching the wave in. She's just caught the wave in mid and now only just moving. She's really behind in tempo on this play. And then tries to hold the wave. So what you could have here instead is, right, you guys back up, give it up, don't do anything, just give up the turret. Nidalee and Anivia, you beeline for mid right now on the next wave. And on the next set of waves, with Aatrox moving already because he had prio, you have Aatrox, Anivia and whatnot, that you give up top lane turret and you take mid lane turret in return. That's the trade. Like, top lane turret is gone, accept that, but look for mid lane turret in return and see what they do. Like, does Renekton TP to this? Why does he use his TP? He's used it way before this, so it's irrelevant. Like, but yeah, if you know this is coming and you know they have mid lane prio and they're moving into those sides, move to the other side or hard force. Let them do it and then hard force through mid. Like, just look for a handshake. If you're behind in tempo, look for the handshake and accept it. You don't realistically ever want to be reacting to what your enemy is doing because it's pre-planned by the enemy, so it's always going to be a weighted like trade in their favor. So it's like 60-40, and maybe you mechanically outplay on the reaction and they play it badly, but you know, better to make your own play. Alright, 2 minutes until game's over. Mid lane turret is still there. Still available. Unicorns have a real problem there. Like, in this stage, or at this point, it's a really bad position for Unicorns to play the game from. If you're looking at it strategically. Yes, they look fairly even on gold, but in terms of like what's available on the map and where they can move and generate tempo from, it's really bad. Big are just getting free tempo on the map, like whenever they want, by just pushing a mid wave. Like, here you go. They're gated. Now they're stuck under their turret. Cool, we got free control now. Red team make the right response and trying to look for mid lane, but it's too late because Kai'Sa is still catching a wave on bot. Kai'Sa needs to be like moving and accepting here, and already be moving. She's kind of like hovering and waiting for some reason, and then gets cut off. If Kai'Sa recognizes this and manages to group with her team quicker, then it's all good. But I think she's worried where we have God vision, and she can't see the people in Fog of War, so she has to take a safer route. Like, she can't see people in here to group. But this is the correct response by Unicorns if they are able to group up as 5. But unfortunately, because it's a neutral and not an outer turret, you can't quite get away with taking mid like we had before. If it's a tier 1, they're way too far away, so you can get mid. If it's an objective like this, then they're quite literally just chilling in between, and it's a very short amount of time. Engage. And now you're running them down. Anivia's out of position. And that's a free Drake Soul. Game's over. So Unicorns need to work on probably a little bit more about their draft synergy and what they're attempting to do, but also learning how to handshake when behind. And I think Big should have probably worked on maybe keeping the pressure up from their bot lane consistently for like 10-15 minutes to the point where it's like unplayable for Unicorns. Like, they had a big lead and they threw it away by allowing Nidalee somehow the time to get her camps on bot side and get into the bot lane. Here's what we're talking about, where Anivia tries to catch waves high, and we were talking about like they have so much engage options. They just like, you know, you're trolling now. And I think that's game over if they've got the wave with them. Yeah, it is. It could have been game if they wanted to hard force it, I think. Alright, because they don't force the end of the game, it actually gives them really bad tempo for Baron. It puts them actually, like, they didn't get a full reset in, so I think they Ryze ult over here to try and start this. But then Red Team just try and contest them. So in reality, if Red Team were maybe a little bit closer, or a little bit better set up here. So you're seeing it here. Ryze ult is available. Ryze ult just straight to Baron. But Red Team here have a good opportunity where they could keep them in the pit if they allow Nivea just to wall them into that pit. But they're fighting before people even get there. Like, they had a little bit of more time that they could have played with there to get set up properly and how they should fight. Anivia is just solo holding the game on her own, but denying the inevitable. Olaf taking a really bad reset here. Aatrox flanked from behind, gets onto the back line and lost. Alright, so here you go. Here's a perfect example of how concepts in League with chokes work, right? Here. Alright, here's choke point 1 that you never want to get caught in from when walking, because guess what? Here comes Aatrox. And now you're sandwiched. Like, you can't go anywhere. You are dead. And voila. Catching someone off tempo in a shitty recall and then just using that zone control with flank from behind and getting them into that choke. Easy pickings. And this is just coming from Big being disrespectful and just not playing to their conditions correctly. Like they could just end. So, yeah. Not as clean as we'd like from some people, but it's fine. They actually gave Baron away, and then, yeah, the gold is now, like, dead even. It's kind of worrying. LS Nemesis Pro Play tier list after. I've seen this list, alright, and I need to know what conditions they tested it with, because Jesus. LS came out and said, yeah, I've asked lots of people to test it, and I think it's really good. Yeah, who? Like, were you going up to, like, Damwon and saying you should play this, or were you going up to your randoms in solo queue and saying, is it viable? How is this how it ends? Alright, they're sieging mid, sieging mid, sieging mid. Ash Arrow into team fight with Seraphino onto like 2 of the carries. Renekton goes in. And they all split. They all split. Rest in peace. I mean, I think Gnar, like, it's like a... What do you call it? When you, in medical tests, when they give him a pill that's fake. The you know. It's a pseudo buff. Where people think he's stronger, when in reality they've only... Yeah, Paslebo, thank you. They've buffed his, like, Mega Gnar, but in reality, how much time you spend in your Mega Gnar is, like, so low that, like, it really doesn't do anything. Nothing changed about him. But he's a good answer into, say, a Renekton or something that wants to get prior like that. Like, he has his unique position where he can be played. It's almost as if champions are strong in unique situations that people just, like, blindly ignore. Ooh, cat. Really enjoying the cat cam. Yeah, see? Like, it's just, there are certain points when it's good and certain points when it's bad. And people do not accept that. Right, so this is Penta versus Ad Hoc. Okay. Let's just get to here. Lilia, Pantheon. Oh, so Kled is just inferior. Yeah, pretty much. Kled is like one of those unique positions where he's far stronger in side lanes and being able to move. So if you're good at generating tempo, you can use Kled ult to get from like top lane to mid lane and use as an engage. Renekton is far better at like potentially earlier laning. But Kled doesn't care because Kled has mount and he can drop turret aggro. Like, I think teams just prefer having the more reliability of point and click stun. What is this? What is this? I don't know why any, like, are they like 3 patches behind? Are they still on Worlds meta? Like, hello? Okay, I mean, they take Samira, blind, and then also blind their support as well. Why not take your blind AD that Sobel's really fucking hard, and then take your jungle of choice? But I mean, Lilia is gone. Nidalee is gone, but you need some kind of, like, ideally an AP jungler into Graves, or you could take Kindred. I mean, Kindred works, Lilia, Evelynn, Evelynn not so much, but Nidalee, what other AP junglers are there? No, I'm having a little think here. I know there's another one that I'm forgetting, one moment. Right, there is a specific jungler I have in mind that I am forgetting. Taliyah. That's the one.
Like, Taliyah exists. Kindred mega counter. No, it's a soft counter at best. Like, Kindred wins when she gets to 4 marks. I think, anyway. But I'm not a jungler on that one, but that's normally what I used to hear. Like, she's a soft counter in the sense of, like, she uses trades early on where, like, Kindred doesn't care about the armor buff that Graves gets because she deals HP damage. So, yeah, like, you could have taken Taliyah here with Samira, and then they take their support of choice, cool, whatever, like, and then you take your support of choice, and then you just, like, create vertical jungle, like we've seen in Mortal games, and this game is pretty much, like, over for Aphelios, by the way. Like, can you imagine if they took support, like, they got lucky here that, like, Ad Hoc, for some reason, picked Leona into this, but there's a very real world where they could have had, like, they take Leona, maybe Ad Hoc take Alistar here, and then you take Seraphine in support. And it's fucking horrible to play. Like, Alistar tries to engage on that, never gonna happen. I don't know. If they take Alistar, you can take Ricard as well, like, that works. Like, there's so many answers into this where just, why would you want to blind a fucking Alistar? They're trying to predict that people play Leona and don't play anything else. They took Olaf anyway when, like, they could have taken it here, like, and gotten a free counter in lane. I don't know. I know this lane is good, but I feel that there was room to abuse it in draft. They allow Orianna through even though they've seen Olaf, and they ban Zoe instead. Alright. Whichever dipshit picked this or decided on this to be banned when I don't know, like, look at this. This is in the game and you can see it, and you want to ban Zoe. If he picks Zoe here, you just run him over. Like, I know they're afraid of, like, them picking it. I don't know, like... Actually, right now, what am I talking about? I'm being a fucking idiot. This is on the other side. I'm thinking as if Zoe was banned on this. Excuse me, I'm a retard. Like, just ignore me. I'm a retard. Take that back. Take that back. I'm being dumb. Really dumb. Entirely my bad there. Okay, well, alright, so they opt into this and they give weak side and they take their favourable, like, GP is okay into Sion. If Sion does get ahead, I've heard that he can, like, basically manhandle this matchup if he wants with tanky stats. But there was existing a very real world where you could have had support counter on your strong side, and Ad Hoc are left feeling a little bit, like, blushed. Orianna versus Victor. Victor can trade HP with Corrupting Potion to get Prior if she wants, but otherwise I think Orianna gets it, like, fairly consistently in early, and then later on when Victor actually has mana to get upgraded E, that's when he can push out. Graves versus Olaf. So Olaf wants Prior, like, whoever gets priority out of these two basically wins from mid. So it's really on mid laners. This versus this, GP gets Prio because he can just trade a wave. And then Samira Alistar versus Aphelios Leona. I think it goes in favor of Samira Alistar, but that could be dependent on what happens at level 1. I think Sion probably starts to win if he has one item, Bramble, and Tabby. Yeah, pretty much. Like, he just runs them over with, like, tank stats. And then Gangplank is, like, free hitting you, but Sion just laughs it off and doesn't care, I think. If Zelax is still here, he might be able to know a little bit more because he's also a top laner. Is there going to be a late invade from Penta? Yep. It's going to get spotted by Ad Hoc, though. They're in a far better position to answer it because they actually saw the information being given. So now Graves is just going to pilot from blue to red, I assume. And we go vertical jungle. What team am I coaching? 404. They're playing in First Div, which is the league that promotes into what we're watching now in Pro. It's the team where like the highest teams in that division are kind of like ERL quality, NLC level. And then some of the bottom teams, it's a big disparity between some of them apparently. But I'll let the German scene decide that. But any players I would know? Lucchesi, Double Aim, Nash, who was playing in UKLC last split for Envision. They're all on the top team. Fengder is our top laner. There's a few in there that are like kind of known, I guess, if you're an ERL player. So the weak side Prodigy, yep. All right, let's refocus and just watch what happens on the vertical jungle. Because Graves is already moving to the other side by the time Olaf has even done just red and the Krugs. Right? He's not even taking the Raptors, whereas Graves is actually technically a camp ahead of him already. Oh, Robshen used a pot, that's why. Want to become famous? Nah, I'm good. If I was famous, I don't know what I'd do with it. So Rolfshen is still a camp behind on tempo, just Graves versus Olaf matchup. But Olaf can actually answer this if he allows himself to get lower, but Rolfshen, for whatever reason, decided I need to use a pot. Which means he could have been a bit quicker. What Sion did here, previous to all of this, while this is all going on, by the way. Sion actually got prio in this matchup. I needed a 3-wave crash with Cannon, which then starts, because I believe what here is GP is autoing the wave. Right, we'll see it in a second. GP autos the wave here. Okay, and what he's doing is he's actually creating slow push against himself by clearing the minion wave so quickly. Like, he's trying to clear the waves and not, like, actually understand where his wave position wants to be. He's just trying to get as much CS as possible. And look, there you go. There's a slow push now created towards Sion, and you're on weak side. And Graves is on this position on the map. Now, he's open to ganks. If Graves had waited maybe 30 more seconds and done crab and then gone into the gank, he would have lost his flash and summoners. And there would be no way for Olaf to ever come to topside to help Gangplank, because Olaf is busy because of the vertical jungle. There's no camps for him to farm there. Becomes a real problem. But technically Ad Hoc are playing weak side of Philios against Samira. And Olaf hasn't achieved anything on bot lane. He's just been busy trying to keep up in farm. Meanwhile, Graves has had a gank, plus Oso still ahead. So take that as you will, but I think Rolfshen right here has been a bit out-jungled. And he was the one that started the vertical jungle. Okay, pause from Penta. Zoom, 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 zoom. Alright. So this is the situation here where Gangplank should be punished by Graves. Like, he can't ever step up for a wave like this. It's horrible for him. Like, you can chain gank this if you really wanted to. So he's forced to burn his TP to try and break the freeze, but Sion just answers with his own TP, and the freeze remains. This is now going to start, like, not freezing because Sion is, like, deciding to break it. So I assume the dive is coming in 30 seconds. Okay, the dive doesn't come because for whatever reason. So prior to all of this, Leona comes from base. And they're looking for the dive bot, but they call it off. So Leona just walks all the way to top side. I think either looking for like the invade if Olaf is clearing his camps and they aggressively like look for it. But then he's forced to go from all the way top and then just walk all the way back to bot again without achieving anything. So what was realistically the point of moving Leona wherever he's going? Okay. So if we watch from base, what might have been better? Okay, so Aphelios recognizes that he's on equal tempo with their bot lane. Alistar is behind in tempo. They recognize this. They attempt to move into top side and accept that there's going to be more vertical jungling in this game. They break the freeze here, but Sion isn't able to protect the wave, so the dive can't happen because he's just, you know, keeping it thinned by Gangplank now. And there's no wave to die with, so it's a real problem. Graves is now looking for camps that aren't really there. And Olaf just goes, okay, well, I've got mid-prio now because Victor had to move previously before that. I say mid-prio, but like the HP-wise, it's not great for Ori, but she's forced it. Okay, they see him on that ward. And now instead of contesting bot lane, they've just decided we're going to go kill Olaf. And Olaf says, no, you're not. So this was really bad by Adhoc for the past like minute and a bit. If they would have done something different, I mean, you could have kept the freeze in top lane and then tried to kill the Gangplank instead of diving. Like with Leona and Graves coming up here. You accept you lose Drake, and then as soon as you kill Gangplank, Leona bases and comes back down to bot lane, and then covers the potential dive that comes onto Aphelios. Or the alternative is you decide to say fuck it. I think that would be best, but the alternative is you can also have Victor hard shove his lane, and Victor comes to cover instead, and then Leona and Graves continue to build their control for Herald that's going to spawn in 1 minute, and they can get like a free reset or something. Instead, they choose this. Graves is on the other side of the map, and only just gets here to answer it. Olaf could have quite happily moved away here with his advantage that he gained. Like, kill the Aphelios. Cool, I'm leaving now. Be done with it. But goes for a second, which is he's entitled to. Favor to Penta. But Scarface and how he played his lane was pretty astronomically bad for vertical jungling. And vertical jungling is going to happen. You're going to see it more and more in pro play with the current jungle selection in the pool. But I would have thought if you're going to do this, then Taliyah would also be a really good option that's better into Graves than Olaf. But I mean, then you'd need to take something on top side that's actually a tank, and then you can have like Ornn versus Sion. And it's whatever. Alright. This is another example of Adhoc not being quite on the same page of what they want to do. And I think this comes from maybe that he thinks he gets mid-prio with Victor now. And I think there's a call from top that like I can get prio. But if he wants to do Herald like now, mid needs to hit this next wave, and Sion should already be breaking this wave and moving. He shows on the map. Victor gets prio, but Samira is already moving. And Leona is like in Africa, like a million miles away. You're never going to start Herald here, realistically. And the opportunity was lost. So, Adhoc. If you want to do Herald and it's up like this, take the opportunity. Blue buff handover. No prio, no prio, no prio, no prio. Bot lane is behind. They can't actually contest prio from what I'm seeing on the map. top lane should be shoving out this wave now to give him time or to move. Penta do a really nice base here with crashing the wave, and they don't realize Alistar's already based. So Alistar is like in tempo Havana right now. He's just sprinting it. Ad hoc can't answer this. If with the bot lane, so basically what Penta do is they have bot lane prior, they shift it up, and then Gangplank just gets prior from there, and Victor isn't achieving priority nearly as easily as I thought he would. So they shift wherever like power they have into this bot side of the map, and accept this is the handshake that needs to happen, right? They're going to look for bot lane turret. If Aphelios has good weapons, this can work out for a lot of Aphelios teams. I think it's the Chakrams that like take turrets really quickly. It doesn't look like he's got the right weapons for it though. So thoughts on Gangplank? I think he's got his like place, but his item builds are a bit wonky. Like I don't know really what he wants to build. Like Divine Sunderer would be the one I would go for, but alright, you've used that because he's overextended, you get his flash, fair enough. But why fight in bot lane after this? Why is he aggressively looking on this side of the map? It's the speed of thought, right? And in the sense that Orianna, to do all of this, took a free reset. And then Victor's already grabbing the next wave, so Victor is probably on a better wave to TP on. And this is in relation to like what's happening with your mid waves. Orianna doesn't want to TP right now because she's clearing the waves, and she's just TP back to mid lane. TP advantage to other mid laner. You can't go aggressive in bot lane if your mid laner is currently catching waves. You can only go aggressive when Orianna has already cleared the wave, and then Ori is already walking. So in essence, it needs to be like Orianna should be about here-ish, where she is now, having cleared the wave prior, but they decide to go about 10 seconds, 15 seconds too early. If they wait, Orianna gets a free base and pushes her mid lane out, and then Victor probably just answers his TP with it. But instead, we end up with this. And I think it's probably back over to Ad Hoc now, because you've got another 10 seconds of their jungle support being missing. Tempo advantage shifted now back over to Ad Hoc. Is this Aaron that played in NRC? Slippy, you still here? Do you know? The guy who was always posting the McDonald's memes? Okay, Ad Hoc decide to give up second Drake in favor of, I assume, waves and also denying from GP. And Victor's like just going to clear midways forever. Yep. So they trade second Drake for this in denying GP. So the response is that we'll use Herald mid, but then they just answer by shifting back down to mid after really bad Herald. You'd be better off using Herald, and then every team keeps shifting, where Ori clears mid wave, and then Olaf and Co either take the bot side again. Like, giving Herald and then putting an entire plate's worth of gold into your Samira, probably worth a lot more than whatever they got there. Okay, Ori's looking around. I think Alistar could maybe do a job. If he shows on map here, then it's probably he loses prio in bot. But if he shows on map, he gets mid prio, and you can answer bot prio with mid prio. But instead, Alistar goes to Africa. What are you even playing for? Are they just trying to deny to make sure that like GP doesn't get fucked again? Why is Alistar walking on this side of the map? There's no objective available. There's no Baron available. Herald is sporing in a minute, maybe? That's what we're playing for, but he shows on a ward, and now you're denying waves from Samira again, and she has to give up turret. I'm not really sure why Penta support did this. The control on Herald isn't required. Like, you get prio from top lane, if you really want. I mean... And you lost the turret for free because of it. There's actually nothing that has really happened in this lull, right? Apart from this, where Alistar goes to Africa. GP's just still clearing waves in top. Olaf comes out on the map. Alistar's still not doing anything. Still not doing anything. Still not doing anything. Waits for Olaf to get here before he moves, because it's scary to go on your own. Get mid prio. Alright. And then back into his own river again. Olaf and Alistar are now on the opposite side of the map because Olaf is still clearing his camps. They execute a play onto finally. Alright, so the reason I say finally here, right? I want you to see how long Viktor was just left on his own and Alistar was like hovering around mid. I think Ali is like is a good answer into Leona because he buys just as much time and he's kind of like melee versus melee matchup, and Alistar doesn't give a shit. Like he's good versus Leona. Like it's specific things, but it's like rock paper scissors, I guess. So yeah, Alistar hovering around mid, hovering around mid, hovering around mid, hovering around mid. Probably been here for fucking like 2 minutes now, and it takes him 3 minutes before he finally actually realizes, holy shit, I could just engage onto Viktor, or Viktor mispositions. But I would have thought that there were ways that he could have forced it a little bit harder, like with the fact that he could just burn his flash, and we know he's got Hex Flash. So just trade flash for flash, and then come back in a minute's time. It just took him forever to get this play off. And in that time for him forever waiting, they've lost bot, and Aphelios is now taking top as well, and it's like, ah shit, like this guy's kind of farmed now. Samira just runs into, hi, I'm a fed Scion with full armor that you can't kill. Enjoy. And despite Alistar moving all this side up, like, he's still lost Herald and a number of things here. So if I was Penta, I would be reviewing this 2 or 3 minutes as to like, what are we trying to achieve? What are our rotation and lane assignments, and where should we like be putting pressure to achieve priority to allow us to do what? Like, what is the next objective? Because ad hoc for like the past 3 or 4 minutes has just been making moves, and Penta have never answered with like their own play to push the game into a future state. And now they're reacting and they're handshaking because they couldn't answer on top side into Aphelios, so they take bot lane turret. But they're now going from taking that like third Drake and second Drake and putting themselves in a good position to doing nothing for about 4 minutes. Viktor gets run down by Olaf. Ori combo. It's the handshake again, where like Erin's supposed to be playing weak side and wave clear. And honestly, so what we're looking for here, when you're playing weak side like this and it's going into 4-1, Scion pushes. Viktor Aphelios look aggressively on this next wave here, and you clear this wave together, and then you can move over to top side together. Like you keep using Aphelios, Leona, and Viktor, and you clear one wave, and then you move to the other side, you clear that wave, and then you move back to mid, and you just consistently keep leaning on each other. Like, imagine your Viktor dies here, and your response is, okay, well, they've overloaded sides now, right, to make this happen. GP bases and says, I'll take over bot lane. Ori walks back to mid. And then they just come in and take chip damage on mid. So you've done a top for top, like a top tower for a bottom tower trade. Strategically, that's fine. Okay, mid prior aggressively. Everyone's converging. Mid is gone now. But Sion is here. So before all of this... Right. Blue team are looking for resets. Are trying to find good opportunities now to spend the gold that they've had. Probably because I don't think they've had a good reset in about 3 or 4 minutes. So there's Aphelios gone. Victor obviously has his from dying, but Sion needed his. He got his now. So there's time and tempo for like this wave, this specific wave. Right. And here's when a little bit of tid, right? A little tidbit. Sion is not showing on this wave. Meaning that he's sacrificed it and accepted and started answering the roam. He is already coming because he's not clearing the wave. We know that Victor isn't clearing this wave, so we know Victor is moving as well. They're just behind slightly on the tempo for the play, but they can answer it. If you go so aggressive to diving like this, when both solo laners are already converging or only like a few seconds behind you, you end up with this. They force too hard in a position where now they're too far away from their own turret, and they're already technically behind with no real like disengage. Yeah. So this is a discipline thing where it comes from, okay, well, they're not accepting the wave in bot and they're not accepting the wave in top. They're losing gold on waves. Just go and actually recreate the play again, like send GP back out to that wave and they do the exact same play again and keep doing it until they finally decide, actually, we need to start picking up waves on this person. We can't just keep dropping them. Oh dear. This game is turning into a bit of a fiesta now. Like, we had this massive team fight that kept rolling. They're all on resets again. We're looking for Drake control with jungle support. Okay, Victor, come help me push this wave in. Cover me while I push this wave. Beautiful. Victor moves back in. But Aphelios has been pushed out. So if you see so many red people like showing here, like I think they see them all on the wave, right? You no longer technically need to cover on Ori. Like you could potentially look to make a play, but Ori has to like accept it really deep because she doesn't know if Graves or anyone is going to be like pushing her. So she can't catch it here because otherwise they just come and kill her. So she has to catch it deep. The issue being now, Sion can get here from ult, but Aphelios had the same treatment as Ori where he has to respect and completely back off. But here comes Sion ult, and you're kind of stuck in the middle between two now. You're getting pincered. Okay. No, we want to get 4th Drake Soul. No, you. Let's fight over it instead then. We'll keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting to see if we get Drake Soul. Oh shit, we didn't get it. Now our tempo is completely fucked and we've given over like 1 billion kills. And we've lost mid. And now we're back to 3k gold down again. And blue team have tempo advantage right now to get control over Baron. There's a very real world here where they've just lost Baron. They're trying to hold the choke here as blue team and saying you can't walk in through this. They concede and just say we'll get mid prio instead and come back later. GP goes bot lane to answer. He has his ult still, so he's still got global pressure that he can join. HE should keep zoning with Eren and keep holding the zone like chokes. And if they walk through, they get chunked like this. Don't go too far, don't go too far. Chill, 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 chill. Play to the zone. Ah. So this was good so far by Adhoc, by the way, for a Baron. Zoning, doing damage, like... No, they're not getting anywhere. This is really good. And then they chase a little bit too far with Aphelios trying to take red here for some reason, even though he's got no control or vision in that brush anymore. And then he just gets comboed and caught. Otherwise, this was a good passage of play from Adhoc. Okay. It could have been a really good point where like the Adhoc generally could have won this game from this point on. Honestly, Linkas is so strong. So is their front line, and you can literally just have those two like solo the Baron while the rest of the team just zones. Or you can have Aphelios and Sion do it, and then Graves just hops over the wall. Gordrinker, Keck. That was a really bad Oriole. But they're looking aggressively to try and take Drake control. So they force mid prio. Or trying to. And then everyone gets split off. And there's just a fight happening. GP gets caught out, yeah, whatever. But there's flashes and sums burnt, but no one dies. But it's just more impactful for Penta because they got chunked harder. This should just be like resets from red team and then looking to control the next passage of play by pushing out their waves and getting into a state where now they should be looking to control Baron, but they don't do that. But it's going to happen in 30 seconds, right? Ori's getting top wave now. GP gets bot wave now. And then Ori and GP on the next one decide to group up, or GP pushes this wave. Yeah. They choose to free reset instead. That free reset was probably bad. Like, this was their opportunity while Victor's catching that wave to, like, move up and get control. But okay, Victor's showing on side. Victor's showing on side. Victor's showing on side. Information's given. Information is given still. So then they're like, we're hitting the go button. Just go straight for Aphelios, get him out of the game. Because Victor keeps showing on side, like his TP is slow. There's nothing they can do to stop us. Okay. However, they've got Graves and Victor still alive. They can be poked in the pit, like, and Sion can front line. It's still kind of difficult to do Baron. I mean, red team used a lot of their resources to do this. I still think they could have just had Olaf and the Samira, like, just solo it, and then have, like, Ori position herself to stop them, but I guess they choose not to. And then we're having a retake situation again. Retake the site, check all the angles. So use Alistar. But then they wouldn't have a front line that could, like, hold and take all the poke, because Alistar and Olaf are, like, there too. Okay. So Adhoc take control of the situation by just recognizing that they fucked up on tempo and then just immediately take. Adhoc are literally like, they've been playing out this passage of play slightly better, but I mean they need to actually consider like if they show on wave, like what happens and prepare for it. So far so good. Okay, we got bot turret. Graves is grabbing it so they can play on 2 waves. This is once again more people showing on bot wave, and it's like, okay, we're just going then. And they look for it. But this time, Sion is in position that he blocks everything. Ad hoc are a bit slow on the rotation here. Graves is talking about it. Graves should be talking about it now. Here. They're slow on the rotation. Like Sion, Aphelios, and everyone. Like the wave is crashing in 3 seconds, and they're still walking there. Like this is when they should be hitting the turret when the wave is crashing. But they dive anyway. And this happens. Okay, so I want you to pay attention here real quick. A very real world here where Graves could actually... They could do something really smart when they fake this. And they really do hard fake it where like... You ignore this wave. Graves can shove this wave. And you fake it by having these guys pretend they walk down into... as if they're rotating over to Graves. And then they double back. And then they double back for this wave up here and Baron it up. And Graves moves over to mid. There's a very real possibility of that. Because it's fogging in a way where like you're just giving that information away to make it look like you're doing this, and then you completely switch it, and then the enemy team is left like shit. There was a huge like 3 waves that crashed with Baron, and there's no way to stop it. Instead, the Baron doesn't break the base because of a poor rotation timing. We end up with this and a dive, and people are panicking now because it's late game. Bush. Wow, is this really how it's going to end? Blue team fuck up on that, and then they decide, yep, we'll get this. Okay, let's aggressively look. Sion is moving, so I think I'm fine, but I'm still technically just walking into range of getting comboed. Peekaboo. So this is the thing, right? If you're going to let someone do this like a tank, you need to still move outside of combo range and stand like here and wait. If you don't give them a priority target and they burn all their sums on your tank, then the tank just goes and then you kill them all. Yeah, Aphelios tries doing damage, but just Samira things with CC. And that should be game over. Alright. Penta don't deserve to win this, by the way. Like Penta have literally only done one thing, which is punishing when someone showed bot lane to even get them in position. And even then, they still couldn't take objectives because of like Ad hoc's team comp. So they pull out the strategy of Fnatic Bush and one person missteps and the game's over. So, I mean, fair play to them that they pick up the win, but there's certain things in there where it's like in the early game, Rolfshen falling behind, but then also their support doing nothing for about 4 minutes with no activity on the map. Probably not the best idea, you know? So we've got 2 games left. This is Gamer Legion and SK Prime. Okay. Heimerdinger ban, pay respects. Taliyah ban, Pantheon ban. I agree with the bans here on red side. Blue side, I guess they just don't. Rabble doesn't particularly enjoy Olaf first pick. Oh, they were aiming. So what you can do is you can ban this, and if you recognize there's something that's going to happen here, right? If you're throwing all these bans over, they ban Olaf, they're forced to ban this, because otherwise they just take Taliyah first, and there's no... The only answer is really Lilia, and that's not exactly great. And if you take Lilia, then you can get in positions that are really bad. So they just ban out both, and then Gamer Legion are like, thank you very much, we'll take our Akali, because you had to ban Hjarnan out with his Heimerdinger. Profit. Syndra Kai'Sa lock in. Not really too sure about this, apart from maybe locking in a Syndra that gives early prio versus the Akali. And then they take Jhin Gragas, which is Hello and welcome to Flex. Jin, I think there are better options, but then you again, Hyanin always had a preference for Jin. It's still fine. And then they lock in this into potentially Gragas bot lane, which could go badly. But they're taking basically like this is early lane prio, this is early lane prio. I mean, for me personally, I don't understand why. I mean, you can take your support pick now, and then you like could have got denied here. So they ban out the two things here, which are like whatever. So this is like a scaling pick into Graves. You get as soon as he gets to 2 evolves at level 11, then it's favored in Kha'Zix, but otherwise before then it's bad. And they left Maokai up. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie here, but they probably should have done a Maokai ban here instead. Thresh into Leona like is early lane like great for Thresh. Later on, like Leona just throws ultimate on top of Thresh, but you use Lantern and just play Lantern. It's fine. But this is fucking horrible to play against. SK have no tank at all. They're going to find this game really hard with no tank against a Maokai if it gets tempo advantage. Like, can you imagine trying to walk through an area and you've got Maokai saplings there, you've got Jin W that can follow up, and then you've also potentially got a Gragas that can sit and wait. It's kind of horrible to try and walk into with the amount of stuff that's going to come at you if you ever lose tempo. Zoom. Don't care, don't care, don't care, don't care. Get me to the game. Thank you. Okay. So as I said, Graves wins early, but Kha'Zix scales into it. So you would give early prio to like SK here, and they're forcing it. Yep, good job. Like you've got prio from both mid and bot. Gragas versus Gangplank, I'm not too sure about. Like Gragas, I think can get prio, but he had to leash. So there's going to be a crash 3 waves here, but it's in favor, I think, of SK. Like laning advantage here now. Reason is that like if Hyanin and whatever try to crash at any point, their wave will end up in this like position here, and then you just get Graves coming in from behind, and you're open to like when you get vertical jungled on, it's just like jungler walking in behind like this for free, and yeah, then he just does his camps and it's all good. So instead they try to do the Graves, they do like the Tishradal like LPL style where it's just go from like red to his red. Rabble's just picking up the scraps of whatever he can get because he knows now that like he doesn't have mid prio. So if he tries to answer by taking blue buff and doing the same path that Graves does, he's just going to have Syndra and then Kai'Sa Thresh converge on him, and he won't be able to move. Thresh uses his prio here to get an insane hook and kill there. Fair play to him. And Graves wants to come back onto this side of the map anyway, so this is a really nice like passage of play from SK, to be honest. Really nice play. And advantage SK. Oh, he's caught Wisdom on a base. That's sloppy. This has gone from like good for SK to now like best case scenario where literally Game of Legion are fucking up massively. Like one was a good strategy and now this is like... I might stop after this one because I'm starting to get a bit of a headache from looking at my screen. But ultimately what is happening right now is that Phones and Alois are just having a weak side matchup against each other. Oh no. So you saw the reset come in. Right. Before this. Now, Hyanan knows he can't step up for this wave. Graves is now on his blue side. Like, if he steps up for that wave, he dies. Wisdom makes that mistake. And boom. So instead of trying to contest the wave, he just gets a free reset and says, fuck it. I'll come back to lane with some like better items and hope for the best. And then SK decide to break their freeze because they want to reset as well to try and answer the items. And now it's fairly even. Like, neither team is trying to do anything. In terms of like actual where waves are situated and what's happening, it's okay. But it's massive props to the early game like rotations there are the first 4 minutes of just what they were doing with their priority and vertical jungling. Okay. So now SK. Oh my word! Right. Good lord. So there's this. This is them coming out of base, like, just really well played by it. There's no, like, strategic thing. It's just an outplay. Kha'Zix was on that side of the map, so it could have gone bad, but, like, they're far ahead, so they can cheat it. 3k gold lead plus Drake now, because you got gank off in mid and also died bot. Gives free tempo to Graves to do that. But you're starting to see that, like, well, Maokai is a good matchup into Thresh. He can just consistently get prio like this. But because they're ahead, they can look to try and freeze the lane. And it makes it kind of awkward. Hyanan's forced to burn more like sums and things as the wave position keeps getting put there. If they got through the early laning without all of these problems, they wouldn't be in a situation like this. I think this is poor of Kai'Sa and Thresh to push this wave here. I think they're looking for a reset. So I want to see what he buys. But realistically, I think they're trying to also shift to get towards Herald. So Kai'Sa just wants to push out so she gets a reset, and Thresh wants it so he can start moving to Herald. Which they do. He gets prio here. He shows. Are they going to contest or are they going to give? Because they've moved Maokai and Jhin here. They've overloaded. So normally what LPL teams will do is they'll actually send both their AD carries just straight back down to bot lane and say fuck it and be polite about this. But Gamer Legion say we want to contest it as hard as possible. We think we can do this. Even despite being 2 or 3k down. Okay, and there's the Gamer Legion team fighting coming in strong. Gamer Legion have no right to win this. But unfortunately, the Thresh wastes his hook, so now we can't zone control this way. And lets them through. Now Maokai and everyone and Akali are allowed through because this choke is no longer like protected or pressured. Because this choke isn't pressured, they start walking in, and then Gamer Legion understand that they can just look for people here and separate them like this. You're caught on one side, these guys go the other, and SK panic. It's pandemonium. When in reality, if SK had just clumped up together, stayed together, and stuck to like this side, block this choke, there's nothing that's ever going to happen here. Like, Jhin can't do anything. But instead, Kha'Zix and everyone go on this side, pick one person off that's like separated from the pack, and then these guys separate and become a target, and yeah, it all goes awry. And now Gamer Legion are back in the game again. So SK need to look at how they're taking fights, and the concept of zone like zones there. And how to control the zones. Still not the worst. Like they got the Herald still. It's just 3 kills given up. They can use the Herald to regain their tempo lead. Like they can break it bot and then start freeing up Thresh, or they can look for mid because you have Prio from bot anyway because of the lead. So decide on what they want to do here. They're looking on bot lane. That's what they choose. But they've already cleared the wave. So we're looking for Drake now. Akali can now like pressure the matchup a little bit, but Thresh is just being more active on the map because he can be with his Prio. Okay. So prior to all of this going on, by the way, so red team are like aggressively looking for this. They're looking for that control. Still got Herald, still got Herald, still got Herald. And then Gragas uses his Prio to shift down to mid lane and then create this. So they concede Mountain. Because of Gragas' movement. And then he TPs back to top to make sure he doesn't lose too much. I mean... So they use Prio from top to get Drake. By shifting. But I would have thought that SK have enough priority that should have come from mid and bot to like do this before Gragas is even allowed to move like this. But it is what it is. But Gamer Legion never break off. They never like actually allow you to catch one person moving too quickly into the control. Moving as a unit. Okay. So SK come off bases now. They knew they were doing Drake, so in that time while they were doing Drake, they cleared waves and did this. Their answer is we're now going to pressure on mid. But Gragas is just going to hold this forever like he can. That's the power of weak side Gragas. He just clears waves and makes your life a misery. Okay, so Akali now takes her turn. Reset timers for top. Kai'Sa and Jhin are just trading waves. And despite Kai'Sa being 2-0, hasn't done anything. Apart from trade waves with people. Like, Gamer Legion are actually the ones with tempo advantage in this game. Despite being 3k gold down. They're the ones consistently getting in positions with like the next objective they're playing for and team fighting better. Gragas is just going to clear waves for fun here. He can just ult the wave if he really wants. But Gamer Legion are already ahead on this trade. Like, they're taking camps away and taking as much as possible while tactically retreating. They're taking bot lane already. Gragas is waiting to... And Gragas just takes the wave. Kai'Sa moves into the blue and says, oh shit. But Gamer Legion are pulling ahead in tempo. Like, way ahead. Like, you're going to see Jhin and Maokai. They've already done this. They've cleared that wave and now they're going to move to mid. And you're still waiting to get top lane turret. And now Jhin takes over mid wave. Akali bases after this and Akali goes bot. And you're still trying to advance the game by taking this turret. You've taken nothing, like, from them. Okay, you got this, but he still cleared the wave. Now Game of Legion are coming off reset, and they've already prioritized Drake. Like, tempo-wise, this game, SK have, like, really slowed down. Like, Game of Legion have fucked them. Okay, they finally give mid, but that was because of the Herald usage. They have to, like, chip damage from early laning, plus that, plus rotation. So it's still bad for gold, but in terms of tempo, like Game of Legion, they're just like first to everything, knowing what they want to do in trade, and coming out better for it as the scaling team. So from a disaster scenario where like they're literally behind in the one area where they should be ahead, they've managed to flip it, turn it, and then just go, yeah, okay, we're damage control now. Rabble, you cheeky. So Rabble, what he's doing here is shadowing on his laner. Okay, they spot him out. He runs. Hide. Hey, you're on your own. Goodbye. Anyone waiting on their own, cool, we'll kill that person. And he's away. It's guerrilla warfare, and Game of Legion are just winning. So what SK could be doing here is they could be looking to aggressively gate, like make sure that Jhin is collecting his wave under tier 2. And then building tempo from that. Like, you've got an extra 10 seconds that they can start moving on. GP versus Gragas I don't think is quite great. And now Akali is going to win on sides versus Syndra. So you're going to need to like probably gate hard from mid to then break Syndra out of this lane. But they're letting Jhin contest his wave like all the way up here. Like, they should be aggressively looking on these mid waves as a team. You're looking for Baron here? Okay. I mean, Akali's just shoving in free waves. Syndra can't move. Gets a free base from Akali. Gragas is taking free base. It's 1 minute before Drake now, so we're seeing the tempo resets. Alright, this is your final base before you have to then start fighting, potentially. Okay. Now we're clearing mid wave together. Fuck top lane, don't care. Fuck top lane, don't care. Maokai sapling. And this possession becomes really difficult to contest. Okay, they go for Drake. So then they're like, okay, fuck it, we'll do Baron. Like, we're not taking anything. We've got nothing set up, so Baron is the only thing we can do. So even though they're 4k down, Game of Legion are setting the tempo in this game. Now, I thought at this moment that Jhin might be better off just taking the Drake on his own, and you let Kha'Zix just like come over to the Baron, right? But you've got a really fed Kai'Sa who's actually coincidentally quite good at taking Baron. Alongside Syndra, obviously. But I would have thought that leaving Jinra to do the Drake and then letting Kha'Zix run. So let's look where Jhin gets to. If you reverse this. Kha'Zix would be ahead of Jhin right now. And Jhin could have potentially been here, or like Kha'Zix could have got here in time to be pressuring that smite and making it awkward for them. Even though SK get this Baron, it's not going to be great for them because Game of Legion are ahead in tempo already, so they're just going to go and clear all the waves that you'll want to play with Baron. So, ready? We'll zoom ahead. I think this is live, right? It is now. So there's no wave for SK to play. The next wave is coming, but it's already a bit too late for them. They might lose some chip damage here. Okay. There's your mid wave gone. Here's your wave in bot lane that you want to play with. Only just getting there now. And your Baron only has like a minute and a half left to 2 minutes. And you've got chip damage on mid, chip damage on bot. That's it. Thresh overextends here, by the way, with no flash even. If they really wanted to, they could probably kill him there. But cool, your Baron got you bot lane. In the meantime, Akali has been pushing this entire time because your comp has no real direct engage. So even with Baron, like, they can't punish mistakes like this. And Jin's clutching mid-wave aggressively high. And yeah, your comp has no engage. Like, your comp can't punish the fact that Game of Legion are just playing on 2 other lanes at all times and playing smarter. And your Baron achieved the net gain of going even. The only thing SK could do there was, realistically, it's a bad Baron to take, even if you get it. But if they do, then they should just stop auto-pushing on one wave and probably end up trying to ARAM or looking on 2 waves. You look on 2 lanes even with mid and bot, and you have to like stop ARAMing on 1 wave and just hold it and wait for your team to get in position and ready together. But alright, Drake in 30 seconds, so they're fighting over position. How does this occur? How does Maokai... Maokai's throwing saplings. Have a sapling, have a sapling, have a sapling. Okay. Oh, okay, so Syndra's just stood over the wall and just QEs. It just gets the entire team because they're contesting the control wards with melees. In this instance, you just let your ranged champions hit the wards and your melees are there just to zone. Otherwise, this happens. But they trade top laners because the lowest, once again, they're not walking as like a unit or unable to get in a position where they can. And then saplings ruin them when they try to walk through in an ocean map. Excuse me. And there's Ocean Soul for Game of Legion. From a position where they should never have been able to achieve it, they use tempo advantage consistently. And alternated sides of map and just played around the fact that like Game of SK never really set anything up correctly. And because they didn't set up anything correctly or have any kind of engage, then you can just play lanes and play smart. See, a Game of Legion would not be able to do this if, for example, say, there was another weak side option like Ornn or something that was in the game that actually allowed SK to punish when that... How is Game of Legion deciding tempo? Okay, so it started... What, like 20 minutes before this? Right, so actually just watch what happens here, right? Game of Legion, okay, we're hitting waves high up, hitting waves. So if you're clearing waves first, that's tempo generation, 1. Because you're moving first, or you can reset first. So they have priority from Gragas. That's a tempo advantage. Akali's going to get it if she gets to sides. That will be a tempo advantage. And they're aggressively trying to catch waves. Like, this is the difference, right? They're aggressively catching waves so they get more time to move and better time on resets. So Gragas is doing it. Akali's doing it. So that's one form of tempo generation. Okay. And there's the other one. So they get the team fight here. When you team fight win, instead of looking to try and take objectives, what they do is they push out their waves. We can't see live right now, but what they're doing is pushing out their waves and then just resetting instead of overstaying for an objective. So they're always back out on the map ahead of SK. Like, SK have just died and come back on the map, and blue team have already reset and then gone back out onto the map again. They're just consistently saying tempo lead is better for us so that they meet waves first. So here you go. And then there's other forms of like tempo denial as well, like Gragas holding out on his weak side for like years and years and years and years and years. So there's this one where like they're holding waves forever on weak side, where Gragas is still generating tempo because he has his priority. And red team aren't pulling the trigger when they have their opportunities. Like, red team cannot pull the up trigger, so they're just walking around the map aimlessly, while blue team are just clearing waves. Alright, Gragas has tempo lead right now. Gragas uses his tempo lead to come to mid, which breaks mid prio. Cool, now you're 5v4. With no TP. Your team is ahead on tempo. Okay. And then blue team base again. They'll clear their waves. Red team are technically in tempo lead now when they've traded it. So Blue Gamer Legion took their tempo to get Drake from the priority, but now red team are getting priority on waves, so they've got tempo lead and it's being traded. But what they're doing and getting out of their tempo usage is a lot less than what blue team are. So Phones here, for example, he is denying. So red team are in tempo lead here. They're the ones moving first. But look how well Phones plays weak side. Okay, he denies the wave, denies the dive. Cool. I've wasted their time. Alright, we're not getting mid now, guys. Don't really know what to do. Don't know what to do. Okay, Jin's clearing waves. But Kai'Sa has done nothing. Kai'Sa's not aggressively contesting the waves anymore at all. Because she's not aggressively catching waves, she's always behind in tempo. Maokai moves first, and then from all of this, by the way, so SK take a tempo reset here, right? All together. There's even more that we can talk about in like tempo, because there's like so many ways to get it and so many ways to deny it, but like ultimately it's just how much time is being used for the reaction on the other side in a way. And whoever is the one that is deciding what is happening at that moment in time. And Phones is like a fucking Chad machine on weak side here by denying so much time and tempo. And this was the big one. So blue team, they're looking here, right? Gragas wastes so much time on top lane that blue team then start pulling ahead. Like blue team are already pushing their wave and then either resetting or rotating. They're ahead on tempo than the other side, like, because red team are still trying to take the turret. Blue team have already moved. Blue team are now covering mid lane. They're ahead again. Kai'Sa's still in top lane. Still hasn't taken turret. Okay, Akali, I'll take over bot lane now. But before that, I'll take a reset, because Jhin is covering my lane. So I've got a reset. And all this time, Phones has just been chilling here, like wasting their time. Because he wasted so much time, Graves, the red team still haven't reset. They're still looking for shit. And blue team have like prioritized Drake. Like blue team are the one picking this. Red team are still fucking around trying to get turret. Okay, yeah, they stay on the map for a really long time, but they've lost Drake. Now the red team are on resets. Blue team are coming in and saying, okay, we've got mid prio. Now we're moving. Blue team have a Akali that can't be answered. Like, Akali is generating tempo now because she can't be answered, so she's shoving waves. Gragas is doing it. Like, their side lanes are fucked because they're just... SK aren't being aggressive whatsoever in their matchups or finding way to enable people to be aggressive in their matchups. You could have a weak side versus, like, for instance, Akali versus Syndra right now is in favor of Akali, but you could put your jungler to talk about with a 2v2 and then have them push out. Like, yeah. Like, I know what you're talking about, but I can't relate that to... Yeah, that's because solo queue and competitive are two different games. They're two different games. Solo queue is all about basically wave management in the first 10 minutes and your early laning and eking out like the best laning advantage you can get. And then past that, just like mechanically and always aggressively, like for instance in these Akali versus Syndra when they're on side lane like this, I'm going to task you to say, Syndra, I need you to win this matchup or this 1v1. That's the difference. Like solo queue wouldn't bother with tempo because you just aggressively try it anyway and limit test. Until you get to Challenger anyway. And then they start using these concepts in solo queue. So don't worry about like learning tempo and stuff and competitive unless you're like getting to a level where you can actually use it consistently. Like baby steps. Maybe if you're in your lane, like you need to know, I can do a 3-wave push here because I get early prio into a reset and then get an advantage. Work on CSing, make sure it's always perfect. Like, yeah, but it's you can use tempo and generate tempo and stuff, but it doesn't matter in solo queue because if a person comes in and he CS is better than you, then like it's whatever. Like, for instance, Hyanan here is completely outclassing Unforgiven. Even though Unforgiven was given a massive lead, he doesn't understand how to, like, use his lead. So yeah, like, solo queue, competitive, 2 different things. Wait, why am I'm getting a headache because I haven't eaten today. That's why. I woke up and I just immediately started watching League. I need to go eat after this. But yeah, that's why, right? And there's the other thing about tempo resets, which is like the big thing, I guess. So here's 1 minute before. All right, Gaming Legion. Here's the call. Drake is coming in 1 minute. Drake's coming in 1 minute, guys. Base together. Juggle support, base together. Get all the wards. This is your last reset. And the reason it's 1 minute before is because it gives you 2 waves to play with. So 30 seconds before a Drake is the wave that you want to be pushing out aggressively to then start getting vision. And then there's a wave after that which you can play out to like, so it's prio, vision, prio. So they lost this war, but because Maokai exists, they lost prio on wave, but it doesn't matter because Maokai exists. So they lost positional advantage in this area to Gaming Legion. So they try to hard force mid to bring them out to make a decision. Like, if you take Drake, we will take mid as a handoff. And that's where we end up with this Baron versus Drake trade. Alright, let's go back to when they have Ocean Soul. But this game's pretty much over at that point, right? Like, for some reason, like, yeah, there was this fight. People split off. Melee people taking that. So they take Nash over Drake, yeah. But the thing is, we already discussed this to say, like, it doesn't matter. Because Gamer Legion, alright, so if someone is taking Baron, for example, and the enemy team is all alive and they're all pressuring you when you're doing the Baron to the point where, like, you can't actually technically reset properly. Alright, if you aggressively chase their resets, it's just buying time for blue team to clear out all the waves, and then Nash is fairly pointless because you have no waves to play with. And it's wasted. So in a way, it's kind of a bad Baron, and they didn't really game. They got a turret out of it, but Gamer Legion just play with, as we spoke about, like Gragas and Akali. No one can answer Akali, so they just say, okay, you go for bot lane, we'll take top lane, and just keep handshaking. And SK don't have any engage to punish it. So this is kind of like a draft diff in the sense of how they're playing the map. If you have no engage in comps, it's whoever plays the map better and understands whoever has better solo lanes. No engage games, whoever has better solo lanes or can recognize how to play on 2 lanes as a macro concept wins game. And is that game over? Right? Yeah, SK group up again, realize they can't actually force anything, and then just get aggressively chased down with Ocean Soul, and then like compositionally wise, SK needed to close out this game in the first like 15 minutes and needed to build a big enough lead through like their Syndra and their bot lane. Otherwise, like they drafted like for early prio, but then their comp kind of shuts down once like Akali gets to side lane against them, if they can deny Akali ever getting to side lane by getting Herald first and breaking mid as early as possible, and then like deep gating so they keep crashing mid waves into tier 2, and then SK can keep rotating to side lanes like consistently, and then SK just keep rotating onto the Akali, and then it's flipped. The matchup is flipped. Akali can't do anything. Gotta love playing it like it's chess. When you get to sort of like levels like this, when it's Grandmaster Challenger players, like there's similarities you can pick out, and then you can kind of like play it like chess, where like this thing happens, this is the correct reaction. So the best players are the ones that just flip matchups in pro games aggressively, like so. For instance, why like Showmaker and Caps are so good is just that like they never fail and they win 1v1s they shouldn't. And that winning 1v1s you shouldn't in pro play is like game over for a lot of things. So yeah, my best tip to like if you want to improve in solo queue in regards to like competitive is one, I can write it up here actually. So 1, early laning, T2 recalls, how to force trades, and dives. So if you're on strong side, basically it turns into like if jungle pass top, force trades and dive. If you have prior with prior. If your jungler's pathing towards you and you don't without priority, for example, then you'll probably want to do like force trade level 1 into, because if you force a trade into level 1 it makes wave push into you equals freeze, and you can potentially burn summoners that way. If you're in top lane, and the other one is like for dives, like crashing when you want to crash waves. So like learning, okay, I need to like see my jungler moving up here. I need to like crash 2 waves, or I'll do a crash in 2 waves into a dive, and I can deny. Like how much of this can I deny from my enemy, and how much gold can I get for myself, while still moving between all the correct parts and where I need to be. And the second for a top laner is like shifting. So if I push 2 waves and then like understanding that shifting is a really big thing, and that's basically like when you've been seeing it here where phones for the first Drake got prio, and with that prio he then used that time to move to mid. That's shifting. Getting prio in your lane and moving. And understanding that this on outside lanes, oh shit, this is gonna go like way too far. Give me this. Alright, it doesn't matter about like what's happening on screen, but to understand it. So this are on different timers, despite waves coming out. And this is always 15 seconds ahead. So what you can do on outside lanes is that you can aggressively look for mid waves, and then you can then branch out to get to side waves. Or the opposite happens, because of how side waves interact, is that you can actually shove out, let's remove this one real quick to show you, is you can push away from here, and then push the second one, and then when you've pushed the second one, you can then move to mid lane. Because of the way timers work, people will be trying to catch mid waves. If you time it right, like every 2 waves, they'll be looking to catch their mid wave, and you'll already be walking. And then you can create like those situations where you can force engages. Let's see if we got an example in this game. Let's go to the Drake one. Da, da, da. Here. Ready? It's gonna happen. Sideways, sideways, side wave. he's now pushed out his lane, and this is the timing window that we're talking about of how side lanes crash, right? Mid will always crash first, and it's 15 seconds ahead. So if you actually push out your wave quick enough, there's a way where you can already be walking to mid when typically mid laners would be contesting waves like this, and you'll already be like beelining for mid lane. So if Syndra and solo queue fucks up here, right? Gragas could be sat in brush, and most mid laners at lower elos will just like aggressively push into turret and be like, yeah, I'm fine. In reality, they've got a top laner coming onto their ass. So yeah, there's a really simple thing to look for in competitive play. And just understanding when wave timers crash. Okay, I've got a wave here. I push it out as quickly as possible and start moving to mid. I know for a fact that it will always interact like this. And that's happening every single time. Okay. If you have any other questions, shoot them now. Otherwise, I am going to end the stream and then go get some food. I'll leave it up for a minute and then we'll keep it there. What the fuck is this draft? What is that? What is that? Oh my word. This game's already over, right? Schalke just hard win this. Like, just from draft alone. I mean, I'm not too sure about the Silas, but like... This game's over. Alright, I'm going to place a bet now. I haven't seen this game. That Schalke end up with like a 6k gold lead. What the fuck is this? This is a terrible draft. I'm only seeing the draft on this and I'm pausing. I was just giving time for questions, so if there's anything... But I'm not going to watch the game, but this just like hard wins. They've got no answer to Taliyah vertical jungling. They've got no answer to Renekton getting early prio and Jhin Alistar getting early prio against what appears to be a Seraphine this bot. And also mid lane getting prio. Like, Schalke have 3 lanes of prio alongside Taliyah early game. This game's over before they've even gone in. Alright. What was my shoe size? Like 10, I think. UK 10 or 11-ish. Alright, good question. Good talk, guys. So thanks for tuning in. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow when we do even more reviews and we come back and we'll probably look at other NLC or other national leagues. And we'll probably tag this game in as being the one where I'll leave it on a cliffhanger. So anyway, have a good day, guys. Peace.